What's up, everybody? The sun came up in Norman this week, and hey, look at that. Oklahoma still got football games to play, starting with Saturday's big Bedlam finale in Stillwater. Yeah, I'm John Hoover, publisher at AllSooners, and Ryan Chapman and Randall Sweet, they're going to jump in to help me break down the final game of the Bedlam series that we know of. Kickoff is 2:30 p.m. ABC's got the broadcast. Listen, the Sooners lead this all-time series 91-19-7. It is the most lopsided college football rivalry in the country. But as I've mentioned, Oklahoma is off to the SEC next year, and this is the last time they're going to play a game in football, so enjoy it while you got it. OU is 7-1 after the shocking loss to Kansas last week in Lawrence. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State has won 4 in a row, and they're tied with 3 other teams, OU and OSU are, for first place, a five-way tie in the Big 12 standings. They're all 4-1. So now, in this game, OU opened as a 6.5-point favorite, which is now down to 5.5 midweek. So, guys, let's jump into today's breakdown, right? First up, does Oklahoma stand a chance of stopping Ollie Gordon, national rushing leader, and do they need to stop him to win this game? Do they need to stop him to win this game?
Yeah, first and foremost, I don't know if there's a stopping Ollie Gordon. There might be a holding Ollie Gordon to like 120 yards. If we're going to call that stopping him, then yes, I think Oklahoma can stop him. When you look at what Oklahoma State has done, Ollie has been fantastic. But Kansas' rushing defense is not a highly touted rushing defense. West Virginia's rushing defense is not like a top rushing defense. Cincinnati came into that game last week in the top 50, somewhere in the mid-40s. But that's a group that simply has nothing else to hang their hat on outside of the interior of that defensive line. Oklahoma's the best D-line that they'll have played. And whether Danny Stutzman was there or not, I think that D-line up front is going to be a really, really motivated unit to show they're a lot more physical, but they also won't have all the deception that UCF and Kansas is running at Oklahoma. OSU, they simplified things, made it a little bit more straightforward so that their offensive line can get on the same page and Ollie Gordon can get going. I think that Oklahoma will have a really physical day up front. I think DeJoun Terry is going to be huge. Isaiah Coe is going to be huge. Dasan McCullough going to be huge, regardless of if it's Stutzman and Kanik or if Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie have to rotate in there. I think that Oklahoma will be on top of that, and that will be a big, big reason why Oklahoma's defense will have a bounce-back day, help the Sooners push this thing across the finish line in the final Bedlam.
Well, to be completely honest, I don't think that OU will be able to stop Ollie Gordon. Now, I do think that OU's defensive line has enough talent to slow him down, at least enough to win the football game. I definitely think that that's in the realm of possibility, but completely stopping a guy who's gone over 200 or who's averaged over 200 yards in the second half of his last 2 games, especially for an OU defense coming off of 2 pretty poor performances against Kansas and UCF. And even if you look back against Texas, Jonathan Brooks was able to break some big runs off. Gordon's probably the best running back they've seen all season. The stats would definitely indicate that. And so while I do think that Oklahoma can maybe limit him to less than 200 yards and a half, I still think that Gordon will have a big game. It'll be up to OU slowing down the rest of OSU's offense to kind of determine whether the Sooners will be able to escape there with a win. It'll be a big test for that defense.
Yeah, listen, there's no way Oklahoma gets out to a 28-0 lead in the first quarter again like they did last year. Is there? No, probably not. Anyway, Danny Stutzman's going to have to play. He's going to have to play well. And Oklahoma's going to have to stop missing so many tackles. Double-digit missed tackles each of the last 4 games. So if Stutzman can't go, there's inexperience behind him, and that probably means more missed tackles. So and probably a big day for Ollie Gordon. But I think Ollie can have close to 150, maybe even close to 200 yards on the ground, and Oklahoma can still win the game if they don't get lazy or don't get deceived like they did so many times the last 2 games. When Alan Bowman tries to throw the football. Just get after the quarterback, cover your receivers, right? Maybe easier said than done, but you do those 2 things, might not matter what Ollie Gordon does on the ground. Okay, second question. After going super conservative last week at Kansas, does Oklahoma lean on the run game again against Oklahoma State because their run defense is so bad? Or Is Dylan Gabriel the next Sooner quarterback to have a huge passing day against the Cowboys?
It might be impossible to be less aggressive than Oklahoma was last week against Kansas, and they are going to probably take a bunch of shots downfield, but I don't think they're going to suddenly abandon the run game. Oklahoma State's defense has struggled against the run at times this year, and I think back to that West Virginia game. West Virginia moved the ball up and down the field. Garrett Green had over 100 yards rushing. So whether Tommy Walker's 100% healthy, whether he's hobbled, I think that Oklahoma's going to still lean on the run. I think they're going to lean on Dylan Gabriel in the running game. Think back to that Texas performance. I think it's very possible that Dylan Gabriel goes over 65, 70 yards and becomes just an extra number in the running game, which will only help facilitate if they want to take those shots downfield. And that's something, too, that even if Dylan Gabriel has a mistake early on and Jeff Lebby gets a little conservative like he did against Kansas, I think that Dylan Gabriel running game is a way that he can still keep his veteran quarterback in the game, have a guy that's experienced those big moments, in control of the football just on the ground. So I think Oklahoma, a little bit more balanced attack than what they had against Kansas, but I do think they're not going to abandon the run by any means on Saturday in Stillwater.
I do think that after some criticism, Jeff Lebby, the rest of that offensive staff, maybe with some advice or whatever you will from Brent Venables, will be ready to air the ball out this weekend. I mean, again, Venables kind of talked about Lebby facing some of that criticism and saying, that's how it is at Oklahoma. Still, I do think that Venables, Lebby, the rest of that offensive staff, obviously Venables not an offensive staffer, knows that they need to put the ball down the field to win the game. Go give Brennan Thompson a shot. Go give Nick Anderson a shot. Jaden Gibson maybe. Get these talented receivers who we've heard throughout fall camp were performing so well. Go give them a chance to make plays on the ball. If Tommy Walker's hurt, even if he's able to go but is limited with the injury that we saw last week, it's going to be even more of a reason for Lebby, Gabriel, the rest of the Sooners offense to really push the ball downfield.
So here's my take on this one. Oklahoma State's defense isn't any good. It's just not. Best part of this defense is the pass defense, which ranks 90th in the country. So that means the running game is there for the taking, but OU's run game isn't any good either. So Jeff Lebby, I'm just going to say it like this, needs to not bite the cheese on the running game and just do what OU does best. Throw the football and throw it deep. Last week's game plan at Kansas, it was kind of gutless. It was. And it cost Dylan Gabriel, it cost the OU offense, and it cost the Oklahoma football team a ton of what Brent Venables called opportunities. Throw to win, win to throw. That's what I say. Good stuff, fellas. Appreciate you. You guys all should really hang out with AllSooners.com for all of our content all season long, but especially our wall-to-wall coverage of OU at OSU, the final Bedlam game we may see for a long, long time. Our staff has got you covered pregame. We got the in-game live blog. We've got post-game coaches interviews from players, coaches, whoever else we can interview on the sideline. Our post-game reaction, of course, the All Sooners podcast, which is certified fresh from the press box, and so much more. Just keep it right here at AllSooners.com. For Ryan Chapman and Randall Sweet, I'm John Hoover. See you guys.